Is working hard really enough? We're taught that if you put in the effort, you'll get the reward. That if you climb higher, faster, and hold on longer than anyone else, you'll win the prize. But is that true? Or are there invisible wings and unbreakable barriers that have already decided our fate, turning all our effort into a meaningless, tragic struggle? The system might have been designed to work against you from the start. This is the parable of the ant who built a ladder to heaven, and the ant with wings who stole his reward. In a certain forest, there was a legend of a single golden leaf on the highest branch of the tallest tree. Anyone who touched it would be seen as the lord of the forest. It was the ultimate symbol of achievement. On the ground below, a worker ant named Diligent believed in that legend. He believed in the meritocracy. He believed that if he could build a path to it, the prize would be his. He gathered thousands of other worker ants who had nothing but their will. They began an impossible project, forming a giant living ladder, a tower of flesh and bone. Diligent, the leader, was always at the top. The process was a nightmare that lasted for months. Thousands of ants bore an impossible weight, fighting the wind, the storms, and gravity itself. They fought not only the external elements, but the inherent fear inside them that they belonged on the ground. There were catastrophic failures, hundreds of lives lost as they fell, but Diligent, always at the top, pushed them onward. They were building a monument of pure will. Diligent felt his joints about to shatter. His antennae were dry. He was the tip of the spear, enduring everything. But after the grueling journey, he had nearly made it. He could see the golden surface of the leaf. It wasn't just a leaf. It was recognition, validation for every drop of sweat and every life lost. He had done it. He had proven that effort could conquer anything. He reached out his antenna, just 1 millimeter away from glory. And then, a shadow passed over him. It didn't come from below. It came from the sky. A winged ant, shimmering and elegant, suddenly appeared. It wasn't sweating. It knew nothing of the weight. It bore none of the scars from 100 failures. It didn't smell of fear. It simply flew. Its wings, a gift from birth, had carried it past Diligent's entire grueling journey in seconds. The winged ant landed gently on the golden leaf, lazily brushing off a speck of dust, as if it was the most natural place in the world for it to be. The winged ant looked down at Diligent, who was clinging to the branch just below, panting. The surprise on Diligent's face quickly turned to silent rage. The winged ant spoke, its voice clear, effortless, and full of superiority. "How impressive," it said. "A beautiful ladder. Did you really build that all the way from the ground? That's admirable." It walked around the leaf, its body reflecting the golden light. "But this throne," it tapped the leaf gently, "belongs to me. It has belonged to my family for generations. You were born from the dirt, Diligent, and you will always belong to the dirt. You can climb as high as you want, but you will never fly. As for me," it fluttered its wings, the sun shining through them. "I belong to the sky," Diligent protested, his voice hoarse with exhaustion and anger. "No, I climbed up here myself. We built this path, with blood and sweat. By the laws of the forest, effort must be rewarded." The winged ant laughed, a sharp sound that chilled the air. "Your laws are fascinating, the laws of the dirt. But we are in the sky. You speak of effort, I speak of bloodline. Are you in the royal registry? Does your father have wings? What you have is sweat and mud. What I have is a dynasty." Diligent froze for a second, not because of the words, but because of the simple truth of them. He stared at the other's delicate wings. They didn't look strong. They just were. He realized a more horrifying truth. The winged ant wasn't stronger than him. It was just different. It hadn't won the race. It simply didn't have to compete. His entire journey, the sweat, the sacrifice, the ants who fell, It was all just a silent play, a meaningless performance of effort for an empty audience. That truth turned his rage into one last desperate act. "No," he roared, putting all his remaining strength into his 6 exhausted legs. He lunged forward, trying to knock the intruder off the leaf. He had to touch it. He had to prove he was there. The winged ant didn't even bother to fly. It simply took one step back, casually lifted a long leg, and pushed Diligent hard in the head. It wasn't a powerful shove, but it was full of contempt. Diligent lost his balance instantly, sliding on the smooth branch, almost falling into the abyss. "Don't turn your foolishness into treason," the winged ant commanded, its mocking tone gone, replaced by cold authority. "Your place is preordained." And then the worst part happened. The winged ant gave a slight signal. From the surrounding branches, soldier ants appeared. They were large, strong, and they were Diligent's own kind. They had no wings. They were also workers, just assigned to protect the order. They surrounded Diligent, but they didn't attack. They showed no hostility. "Diligent, stop," said an old soldier, one who had lost an antenna in a battle defending the colony. His voice was full of resignation. "This is not our place. We are the builders, not the rulers. The order is the order." "What order?" Diligent yelled, looking desperately at his brothers. "The order that keeps us at the bottom? I made it to the top. I prove that order is wrong." The old soldier shook his head. He didn't argue. He simply stepped forward, and the other soldiers stepped with him. They drew no weapons. They just used their bodies. They formed a living wall, a hard chitin barrier, blocking Diligent from the golden leaf. They were his people, and they were protecting his enemy. Diligent tried to push through. "Get out of the way," he growled, but the wall held firm. He pushed harder against a young soldier. The young soldier didn't push back. He just braced himself, endured it, and looked at Diligent. His eyes weren't filled with hate. They were filled with pity. This was the most tragic detail of all. This wasn't an enemy oppressing him. This was his own team. Their eyes held no malice, only fear. They were afraid for him. They were afraid for themselves, afraid of what would happen if the order was broken. They weren't protecting the winged ant. They were protecting the invisible prison that held them, because at least that prison was safe and familiar. They didn't attack him. They just stood there. They were the insurmountable wall, built from generations of their own resignation. That was the final blow. That action, more than any word, broke Diligent. He looked down at the vast forest below. He saw the thousands of ants still looking up from the ground. He had climbed to the top. He had won the prize himself. But he realized the truth. This reward, whether he touched it or not, was never meant for him. He wasn't defeated by a stronger enemy. He was defeated by the system itself, and the system's most loyal guards were his own people. He gave up. He let go, turned around, and began to climb down. Step by step, he descended the tower he had built. The thousands of ants below silently moved, dismantling their great work. No one said a word. There was only the rhythmic click of thousands of tired legs. They returned to the ground, returned to their lives of labor, hauling food and digging tunnels. Above them, the winged ant remained on the golden leaf, lazily bathing in the sun. This story is a tragedy, but it isn't fiction. It explains exactly how the system works. Let's break it down. Diligent's problem wasn't just the winged ant. His problem, and ours, comes from two sides. First, there is the external advantage. And second, the internal barrier. Let's talk about the external advantage. That is the winged ant. The winged ant represents external privilege. Whether you call it the glass floor, which ensures it never falls, or the Matthew effect, where those who get more, or call it a fake meritocracy, where talent is really just bloodline. The result is the same. The system is designed to reward those who already have the advantage. The golden leaf was never a prize. It was an inheritance. But the second barrier is even more dangerous, and it comes from within. That is the soldier ants. That is internalized oppression. It's what happens when, after generations of being defeated, we start to believe we don't deserve it. We start to believe this order is natural, that some are born to fly and others are born to crawl. We protect our own prisons. We pull each other down and call it being realistic or knowing our place. The soldier ants weren't Diligent's enemies. They were his greatest tragedy. The story ends, and the final question just hangs in the air. In our own society, who are we? Are we Diligent, trying to build a ladder to the sky, believing our effort will conquer all? Or are we the soldier ants, pulling our friends back to earth, telling them to accept reality, that this is not our place? And above all, will we ever realize that the problem isn't that we didn't climb high enough, but that the game was rigged from the start? The golden leaf is still up there, glittering and distant, an eternal symbol of both hope and despair.